Coming to you live from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. Good morning. It's Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Coast time. Of course, you might be in a different time zone, so you're going to be at a different time, or even perhaps you're listening to this show at a totally different time during the day. So, anyway, thanks for listening. You're listening to us live. We're coming to you from Denver, Colorado on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms, such as, let's see, Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. You name it. We're just about everywhere we can be found. Also, we're on Blackjack Television on the East Coast, and we're also on milehighradio.com as well. So, anyway, that's the story. We've got a lot to talk about today. Of course, primarily, we're going to be talking about baseball, but we're also going to dabble a little bit at the NFL because, hey, before you know it, about 5 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, we're going to be right into the beginning of the NFL season. So we're going to be start leaning more and more into that direction. Today, we're going to do some futures talk, talking about why we think that the Southern Conference of the NFL should be won by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll talk about that as well. We're also got 3 baseball games on tap for you today. Got the Reds against the Mets, the Brewers against the Braves, the Red Sox against Tampa. We're going to take a closer look at those 3 games, kind of give you an idea as to which direction the money line, the line movement is going. And of course, once we determine that, we can also let you know in which direction the pros are going as well. So that's the story for today. And of course, it's Sunday. It's the beginning of a new month. We're going to go over the numbers for the little method, little system, whatever you want to call it, where we tag on, find out where the pros are betting, and kind of follow their record throughout the season. So now that the month of July is finished, we're going to come up with the final totals on those games as well. So let's get started as usual. The first thing we usually do is we take a look at what happened the day before. In Major League Baseball, not much to talk about, just that the underdogs went 9-6. 9-6 with the underdogs yesterday. The biggest upset of the day, the Rockies here in Colorado, plus 175 against the Padres. Now, the favorites, they still lead for the season so far. They're at 58.1%. As far as the over-unders are concerned, as far as the overs-unders, as far as the amount of runs are concerned, the overs are on a pretty good number as well. They're at 50.5%. Yesterday, the overs went 8-5. Cincinnati and the Mets, Milwaukee and Atlanta, both of those were a push. And like I always tell you, whenever we're talking about pushes, we're talking about numbers, we're talking about Las Vegas numbers. And of course, they can definitely be different coming from wherever other part of the country you happen to be in. We have almost 30 states now that do have legalized betting. Arizona is going to be the latest one coming on board. Got a little over 7 million people living in that state. So we're going to have a pretty good number of people that will be coming on board. And of course, what that means for us contrarians, if you've never listened to the show before, you kind of get the idea. This is a contrarian show. We talk about analytics and we follow the numbers. We take all the emotion out of betting as much as we possibly can. But of course, the important thing is that we are contrarians. We kind of bet against the public because the public is wrong most of the time, believe it or not. So that's the story as far as our philosophy here at the station is concerned. And one of the things that we do is that we watch the line movement in whatever sport we happen to be dealing with. Now, of course, we're talking about baseball. So we're looking at the line movement in games. And once we find out what that line movement is, we can determine which direction the pros are betting in that game as well. So we've started doing that as of April 1st, which was, of course, the first day of the season. We followed it all throughout. We kind of give you an idea as to which ones are on for that particular day. Some days there are none. Sometimes there's only one. Sometimes there are three, maybe four sometimes as well. It just all depends on the line movement that's going on. And by line movement, what I'm saying is how it moves as far as the money line is concerned, going, say, from a minus 115 to a minus 125, or going from a plus 110 to a minus plus 120. We kind of follow that movement in which direction it's going. And by looking at that, gives you a very good idea as to which direction the pros are going. In other words, they don't give me a call and say, hey, first of all, they're not a monolith. There's not just one person, and we're talking about a group of people, a large group of people, maybe not that large, but a pretty good sized group of people that do this for a living. They get up in the morning, that's all they do, and they follow it through the day. They follow all the stats. They go through various situations so that they can actually come up with their selections because that's how they make their living. If they don't do very well, they don't eat, they don't pay their bills, things of that nature as well. So, one thing to keep in mind about the pros as well, they average somewhere around anywhere between 58 and 60% as a win percentage, which means that they're wrong 40% of the time. They're not right all the time. Nobody is right all the time as far as betting is concerned. There's so much that can happen. There's so much that can go wrong in a game that can swing it from one way to another. And if you've done any betting in the past, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, as far as this little method, this little system is concerned, as we look through the month of July, it ended yesterday. Yesterday, we had three plays: Kansas City against Toronto. In that game, we had Toronto, the Boston Red Sox against the Tampa Bay Rays. In that game, we had Tampa Bay. Both those games were winners. Toronto won, Tampa Bay won. We did have one loser. We had Philadelphia beating Pittsburgh. That kind of went the other way. Pittsburgh beat Philadelphia. So we had three plays yesterday. We had two winners and one loser. Just to give you an idea how it fluctuates, the day before we had three plays, we had two losers and one winner. So if you take a look at the entire 2 days, you had six plays, you had three winners, and you had three losers. So you kind of right in close to the 50% mark. And when you're dealing with some underdogs, you don't have to be at 52.3% as you do like if you're betting regular straight bets, because there's an overlap. There's more money coming in on an underdog when you win than when you're betting on a favorite. Of course, you should know about that by now. If you don't, we will go into more detail about that as we get time throughout the season. So, for the entire month of July, we had a total of 63 bets, 63 selections. 32 of them came in for a 50.7% average, which by most standards, if you're looking at betting dogs in there as well, you're going to be ahead of the program at this particular point in time. But we'll see what happens in August. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep you abreast of what's going on as far as the numbers are concerned. And again, we just let you know that so that it's just another tool that you can use in trying to select a winner of a particular game. So there are different type of ways to address these situations. This is just another way of doing it. So we're going to take a break. And as you know, if you've listened to the show before, we take three breaks within the show. And of course, each one is of 1 minute duration. So we'll be back into the sports wagering zone, looking at the three selections for today in 1 minute. And welcome back. Welcome back. You're in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo coming to you live from Denver, Colorado. Almost said Charlotte because we came from Charlotte for about 4.5 years. So it's something I got to think about it when I get to say where we're actually coming from. Well, we are coming from Denver. It's the Mile High City, and we're on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as being podcasting on the most major podcast platforms. We're on Google Podcast, Apple, on Spotify, Sprecher, you name it. We're just about everywhere. Very easy to find. So it's Sunday morning. We have 3 baseball games on tap for today that we took a close look at. Follow the line movement on, kind of give you an idea as to which direction the pros are betting in these games. To begin with, there's a 1 o'clock game, and it's the Cincinnati Reds against the New York Mets. The Reds are 55 and 50. The Mets, 55 and 48. Very, very close. These playoff hopefuls have kind of split the first 2 games in the series. The Reds won the opener 6-2. And in that game, they were plus 125 as road dogs. And the Mets, they came back with a 5-4 win on Saturday. They were a minus 125 as a home favorite. Now, in this afternoon's rubber match, Cincinnati comes back with their right-hander, Vladimir Gutierrez. He's 5-3 with a 4.75 ERA. And the Mets, they come back with their writer, Marcus Stroman, the righty, 7-9 with a 2.63 ERA. Now, as we look at the line in this game, it opened with the Mets listed as a minus 155 home favorite and the Reds as a plus 145 road dog. Now, the pros aren't scared off with this chalk in this particular game. They're hitting the Mets and hitting them hard at home. They steamed New York up from being a minus 155 all the way up to being a minus 170 on the money line. Now, one thing you have to remember, non-division favorites that get 10 cents of steam or more are at almost 62% this season. So if you're betting and all you did was bet non-division favorites that move 10 cents or more in steam, are at 62% so far this season. Now, teams coming off a win that getting 15 cents of steam or more are at 59% this season. The Mets are 37 and 25 whenever they're a favorite, and the Reds are 22 and 26 as a dog. New York is now 65% as a home favorite. 65%. The Mets, when they're at home as a favorite, have a 65% win percentage. So you got the Reds and the Mets. The pros are on the Mets in this particular game. Also around 1 o'clock, a little after 1, the Milwaukee Brewers in Atlanta playing the Braves. The Brewers are 62 and 43. The Braves 52 and 53. The Brewers took the series opener 9-5, and in that game, they were minus 150 road favorites. Then the Braves bounced back with that 8-1 win yesterday, cashing in as plus 125 as the home dog. Now, in this afternoon's game, the Brewers send out their left-hander, Brett Anderson, who's 3-5 with a 3.86 ERA, and the Braves come back with Charlie Morton, who's 10-3 this season with a 3.72 ERA. Now, once again, taking a look at this line, it opened with Atlanta, a minus 135 home favorite. Milwaukee as a plus 125 home dog on the money lines. The public says, give me the better team in this game, getting the plus money. But despite most of the bets coming in on the Brewers, we've seen the line move further towards the Braves, move from a minus 135 to a minus 145. Now, what this means is that the pro money is fading what we call the trendy dog. The trendy dog in this particular situation being the Brewers. They're backing the contrarian favorite, and those are the Atlanta Braves. Now, keep something in mind. Non-division home favorites off of a win are at 62% this season. Non-division home favorites off of a win have gone at 62% so far this season. The total in this game is 9 runs, and weather could definitely be a factor here if you're looking to bet this game. The forecast calls for temperatures in the low 90s with 10-mile-per-hour winds, and those winds will be blowing out to left center, from home out to left center. So that total at 9 may increase up to 9.5 before game time. Once again, the forecast, the temperature in the 90s, 10-mile-per-hour winds blowing out to left center field. And what that usually means, a lot more home runs. So more home runs, more points. So it looks like it may go to 9.5 before game time. Once again, the two games we've talked about so far, the Cincinnati Reds and the New York Mets. In this particular game, the pros are on the New York Mets. And as far as the Braves and Milwaukee are concerned, the pros in this particular game are on the Atlanta Braves. So let's take our second break. Let's get that out of the way. And when we come back, we're going to take a close look at the Boston Red Sox and the Tampa Bay Rays in the game that they have on tap for this evening, somewhere around 8 o'clock. So that's the story for the first two games. And like I said, we take 3 breaks in the show. Each one is about 1 minute duration. So, as usual, we'll be back into the zone in 1 minute. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live from Denver, Colorado on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as Blackjack TV, MileHighRadio.com, and most of your major podcast platforms such as Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify. We're just about anywhere and very easy to get a hold of. We're here every Saturday and Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. And of course, we're here during the week at 12 noon Eastern Time. Just to recap the two games we talked about, the New York Mets against the Cincinnati Reds. The pros in this game are on the New York Mets. And of course, if you happen to like this game between the Reds and the Mets, and you like the Mets, be prepared to lay a little juice on this because they're up in the minus 170, 180 area before the game gets started. Pros on the New York Mets in this game. The general public, they're on the Cincinnati Reds. They want to get that plus money because these two teams are pretty closely matched. So you could probably go in either direction. Also around 1 o'clock, you got the Milwaukee Brewers against the Atlanta Braves. And in this particular game, the pros are on the Atlanta Braves in this game. So the general public is on the Brewers, and the Bros are on the Atlanta Braves. One more game to talk about, and that's at 7 o'clock tonight. The Boston Red Sox, 63 and 43, playing the Tampa Rays, who are 63 and 42. So you can see a couple of little close matchups here. Started getting that coming down to that point where these two teams, the top two, three teams, are starting to play against each other. That's when your movement really starts happening. This is your Sunday night baseball showdown, as we call it. Red Sox and the Rays. Rays are 2-0 so far. They beat the Red Sox twice. They won the opener 7-3, and in that game they were minus 135 home favorites. And then they won again yesterday 9-5 as minus 110 home favorites. Now, in tonight's final game in this series, Boston comes in with Nick Pivetta. He's 8-4 with a 4.51 ERA. And Tampa Bay starts their left-hander, Shane McClanahan, who's 4-4 with a 3.93 ERA. Now, as we look at the line in this game, it opened with the Rays listed as a minus 125 home favorite. The Red Sox opened up as a plus 115 road dog. Now, the public says the Red Sox, you know what? They're a really good team. There's no way that they can get swept in this series. Generally, that's the way the public is thinking in this particular situation. It's not a bad way to look at it, but it kind of is. The pros aren't falling for this thing. This is what we call a gambler's fallacy. A gambler's fallacy is like when you say, what's got to happen? It's got to go this way. They just can't do it. They're too good. They can't lose 3 games in a row. But hey, it's happened before. So the public in this game is backing the Red Sox. The pros are backing Tampa Bay to win game number 3. We've seen the Rays get steamed from minus 125 to minus 135 on the money line. Now, remember, home favorites, if they come off of a win, are at 60% so far this season. The short home favorites, that's favorites that are minus 140 on the money line or less, are at almost 58% for this season. Tampa Bay is 26-12 as a home favorite. And historically speaking, we've seen Sunday night baseball favorites and the home teams doing very, very well, cashing in about 57, 58% of the time. And not only this season, but over the past 10 years. This has been one of those things that's been happening as far as the games are concerned. The pros, they're leaning on the lower scoring game. They don't think there's going to be much scoring, a lot of defense in this game. The total opened at 9 runs, has dropped down to 8.5. Also, keep in mind that dome stadiums, closed roof stadiums like the Trop provide an edge to the under because this is a perfect pitching condition, and the ball, because there's no wind, doesn't travel as far. So generally speaking, the numbers are lower in games that are played indoors. So as far as the pros are concerned in this game, they're going to go with the Tampa Bay Rays to take all 3 games in the series. The general public is saying the Red Sox, well, you know, they're just too good. They can't be taken 3 in a row. So we'll see who is right before tomorrow comes. So just a quick rundown once again. We have 3 games that we talked about for today. We follow their line movement and that way determine which direction the pros are going. So let's recap them once again. The Cincinnati Reds against the New York Mets. In this particular game, the general public is on the Cincinnati Reds and the pros are on the New York Mets. But like I said earlier, you're looking at a minus 170, 175 as far as a line movement is concerned, and that's the kind of juice you're going to have to pay if you like the Mets in this particular game. The Brewers and the Braves, in this game, the pros are on the Braves, the general public is on the Milwaukee Brewers. Meanwhile, in the final game, a very close matchup. You got the Boston Red Sox 63 and 43. The Rays are 63 and 42. Tampa Bay won the first two games in this series. The general public is saying, oh, can't happen. The Red Sox cannot lose 3 games in a row. The pros are saying, yeah, I think that can happen. And they're on the Tampa Bay Rays in this particular situation. So that's a roundup of the 3 games that we have on tap for today. Once again, just it's information. It's information for you to use. If you're looking at that Boston Red Sox game and you're saying, yeah, I feel the same way. You got 2 good teams. One team that won 2 in a row so far in the series. This is the 3rd game. You're uncertain as to which direction you want to go in this game. Okay. So now that you know that the pros are going a certain way, you can determine, oh, hey, if they're going that way, that's the way I'm going to. Or you could be looking through a different window and saying, hey, I don't know. I don't think so. I think they're wrong on this one. So let's see. They had 3 plays yesterday. They had 2 winners. No, they're probably due for another loser. So I'm going to go against them. Again, that's up to you to decide which way to do. All we can do is present the information. You take it from there. Hopefully, you make the right decision. So that's the story with baseball. We're going to take our final break. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at the Southern Division of the NFL. We're going to take a look and see who we think is going to be winning that particular situation in the NFL this season. So let's get that third break out of the way, and we'll be back in 1 minute. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. Coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as we do every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time. Like we said, the NFL will be starting up again before you know it. We were talking about this about a month ago. So start thinking NFL. Start looking towards the stats as far as the NFL is concerned. Take a look at the trades. Take a look at the draft is over. See which team has improved. But more importantly than not, make sure you check on their schedule. The schedule is most important. The camps are opening all over the country. So we wanted to look at a couple of futures and situations that are going to be coming up. Well, yesterday we talked about the Washington football team. We kind of went in the direction of taking Washington under 8.5 wins. We talked about it yesterday. We gave you the reasons for it. Today we're talking about the Bucks as a minus 175 at DraftKings right now to win the NFC South. Okay. Because you know what? The Super Bowl hangover, that's what they call it. It's real. It happens. Usually I'd be looking to fade a team that won or even played in the Super Bowl. Okay. But the defending champs coming back, they're coming back with everybody they had last year. And I mean everybody, coaches, players. I've never really seen this much in the past, and I've seen a lot of games. Been here a long time. Rarely do you find a defending Super Bowl champion completely intact after they win that title. They go on different ways. They can't afford to keep paying these big salaries to guys, so they go elsewhere. So the Bucks also have the carrot of the division title because they did not win the title last year. Remember? They didn't win the NFC South last year. The Saints won it. So this is their kind of something else they want to accomplish this year. And though Drew Brees was clearly not the player he was earlier in his career, we did see the Broncos fall off the map after Peyton Manning retired also. So we see that kind of transition happens as these quarterbacks get older. The Saints still have some productive skill players. They have a full, really Hall of Fame coach, okay? They have a very competent defense. I'm just not really a fan of Taysom Hill. The thought of him winning 11 or 12 games, which they're going to have to do to repeat their division, really seems like a stretch for the Saints this season. The Saints also will have the obstacle of facing a first place schedule that's up against them as well. That's another advantage that the Bucks will have. Look at the Panthers. They're still rebuilding, so they're not going to be much of a problem. The Falcons, well, they could be a little better than they were last year. They have a whole new coaching staff coming into play. So you really have to pay a close attention to that. But the Bucks, they should cruise to at least a 12-5 season. That's a mark that nobody in the division is even going to come close to getting to. So the Bucks will be homing in on cashing in on getting into the Super Bowl. I'm thinking by Thanksgiving, they should definitely be pretty well ready and set to go as the team that will be in the playoffs and more than likely go all the way to the Super Bowl. So as far as a futures bet is concerned, taking the Bucks at a minus 175 on the money line that they will win the NFC South to us here at the Zone seems like a pretty good idea. So we'll be following the various different situations as they arise. Not going to have a comment on all of them, just on the ones that we kind of feel strong about. But again, it's just our thoughts. But it's something for you to kind of think about, for you to look at. Perhaps there's something else that we're going to be saying that you can say, oh, yeah, that's right. They're playing that team, or they're not playing this team, or whatever it is. Maybe it's something that you didn't see before. Hopefully, we can bring that to your attention, which will help it better for you. So that's the story there. I mean, in the meantime, let's recap the 3 baseball games on tap for tonight. We have, and this afternoon, the Cincinnati Reds against the New York Mets at 1 o'clock. The pros are on the New York Mets, the general public on the Cincinnati Reds. Milwaukee Brewers against the Atlanta Braves. In that game, the pros are on the Atlanta Braves, the general public on the Milwaukee Brewers. And finally, the big game, 7 o'clock tonight, the big Sunday night showdown game. The Boston Red Sox, Tampa Bay Rays. Those are two teams really very closely matched. Some people may think it might even be a pick 'em, but the way you got to look at it is this way. The general public loves the Red Sox. They think the Red Sox are a better team, but more so than that, their belief that the Red Sox can't lose 3 games in a row is motivating them to go further and further towards the Red Sox. Meanwhile, the pros, they don't believe that gambler's fallacy. They kind of look at this game from a definitely analytical standpoint. They kind of feel that as far as they're concerned, the winning team in this game will be the Tampa Rays. So can the Rays win 3 from Boston, or can Boston lose 3? Well, we'll find out later on tonight. We'll talk about it tomorrow. So thanks again for listening. Just a reminder, it's Sunday. We're here every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Now, of course, tomorrow's Monday. We'll be here tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Time, every Monday through Friday, 12 noon, most of your major podcast platforms, and also on the I-95 Sports Network. So once again, thanks for listening. We talked about the 3 games for today, kind of rounded them up for you. Also give you a little thought, something to think about as far as the futures bet is concerned on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the Southern NFC conference. So take a look at those things. Start looking at NFL because, like I said, before you know it, it's going to be here. So have a wonderful Sunday. And if you're betting today, I certainly hope you have a profitable Sunday as well. So anyway, thanks very much for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. Coming to you live from Denver on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Have a very great Sunday. But like I said, if you're betting, I hope you have a profitable Sunday as well. Goodbye, everybody.